Good Thursday evening, and welcome to Gazette Sports Chat. I'm your host, Joe Gilloway, and tonight we'll meet the newly hired Central Dauphin boys basketball coach, Coach Seth Leonard. We're excited to have Coach Leonard join us. And we put this together just probably less than a week ago, man. It didn't take us too long. So this should be good stuff. And we're going to do something different tonight and something special. We're going to put this on, it's on the Lingelstown Gazette Sports page. It's on the This and That, the podcast, which is our non-sports offering, our non-sports podcast, because it does fit the kind of the demographics of this and that, because we do mostly like Lower Paxton Township. So, and then we're also going to put it on our Lingelstown Gazette page, which is our Lingelstown Gazette news page. So we expect to have a lot of viewers tonight, and I know that the community is excited to meet Coach Leonard and hear a little bit more about him. So. Anyway, our sponsors for tonight's show and for all of our Gazette Sports Chat shows are American Legion Post 272, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, The Tire Mart, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Sam Hartley Decking, Payer Apparel, Tonino's Pizza, Hoffman Ford, and Ted's Bar and Grill. Thanks again to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. Upcoming this Sunday, we have our high school football recap show, our Week 7 show. And let me show you who we have joining us this Sunday here. The man, the myth, the legend, my friend Joe Heaton from Susquehanna Township will be our opening guest. And we're excited to have him. We have him on every year. And just a great guy and a friend of all of ours. And his team's off to a 6-0 start. So it's an exciting time to be a Susquehanna Township person, or like myself, a fan of Joe and a supporter of his program. So that'll be this Sunday night. And we also, this is something relatively new, folks. The Player of the Week, we have a Lingelstown Gazette Sports Payer Apparel Player of the Week, and we're choosing two football players of the week each week out of the Mid-Penn Conference. And we are getting them T-shirts. That's their reward for winning these Players of the Week. And we want to thank Larry Bragg from Payer Apparel. He's a friend of mine. We've been friends for many years, and he runs Payer, which is a sports apparel company. And Larry, I just want you to know that these kids love these shirts. I mean, they're great shirts. I have one. As soon as I take this down, you'll see it. It's hanging over. What am I? Over here. Yeah. So we appreciate Larry's support over the years, and Payer Apparel, it's good stuff too. So, Coach, has been like waiting for that position to be filled. It was like waiting for Santa Claus. I got to tell you that. I had, besides the Central Dauphin people, I have a lot of friends that are, sports guys in the community, and they keep saying, "Did they hire a guy yet? Did they hire a guy? Who's on the short list?" And I knew who was on the short list, but I didn't know who was going to get the job. And I know there were some really good candidates, and I'm excited. I'm excited to meet you tonight, and I'm excited for you to have a chance to lead these young student athletes, these young men. Take it over for Coach Wayne Fletcher. Let's get that out of the way first. He did a lot more than just resuscitate the program, and he left his mark, and I think that you're a great replacement for Coach Fletcher. I'm sure you're going to do a lot of things a lot of things differently too. You're going to make your own mark on the program. So let's get started here. Born and raised, I'm just going to take a guess here. York, PA?
Yeah, you got it right. Okay. You got it right across the bridge.
All right. Not too far away, but it's a different basketball world down there, Coach. York Adams and Mid-Penn are two different basketball worlds, and we're gonna get into that in just a little bit here. Who lived in the home that you grew up in?
So I'm raised by Marshall and Darlene Leonard. Very familiar with the Mid-Penn because my dad told me the stories back in '77 when he graduated. He was a 3-sport athlete himself, football, basketball, and track, and they competed in the Mid-Penn at those days. His squad on the football side actually won the Mid-Penn championship. So we will always be talking Mid-Penn, New York County, which Mid-Penn has an amazing competitive nature and environment to what they're doing. And I'm very familiar with it. But, yeah, I was raised by Marshall and Darlene, one of 6 siblings in that household, and really, really strong on family and faith. And all of my brothers and sisters are quite the athletes as well.
You can learn a lot about a person. That's why I start with these types of questions. What was the importance of education in your home growing up?
Well, it was first, faith, family, and finance, but education was right along with those core values. Growing up in an urbanized area, I'm a graduate of William Penn Senior High. We had opportunities to go outside of our district to different educational organizations. And my mom shared with my dad early. She said, "No, we're going to beat the statistic. All of our kids are going to graduate from William Penn, where we graduated, and they're going to go and get college degrees." And that actually happened.
Oh, wow.
All
All of you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we stretched out all throughout the union, even internationally. With one of my brothers playing abroad. My sister was a athletic trainer for the government. She was just in South Korea. So sports has been great to us. Education has been the platform, but our faith has been really the foundation with which my family stood on.
Awesome.
To emulate the success that we had.
So that was one of the more kind of very impressive 6 for 6. All 6 kids went to college and got degrees. I mean, you don't hear that too often. So
yeah, especially in this type of area. So yeah, we beat a statistic, but we're a very humble family, and it really was the upbringing that we had. It was a standard, for education. And
awesome. And what was your introduction to basketball, Coach?
Really rocky introduction. I say often, I was a football guy. I had some really, really good years from upbringing. I actually had some chances to try out at the highest leagues, the National Football League, and I love football. But when I was growing up, my introduction to basketball was around maybe 5th or 6th grade. It didn't matter if you were taller, smaller, quicker, or slower. You were better than me at that time. But I fell in love with the game, the difference and the competitive nature being much more quick-paced than basketball was a challenge for me. And so I stuck with that challenge until I developed enough skill that I could make my mark on the county and in the state. But before acquiring that skill, I kind of made up and hustle what I lacked with those particular skill sets that make good basketball players. So, we've won championships on every level. But when I was introduced to basketball, it was more from a reserve and a great teammate, and it grew into some teams where I would start them, but most of my teammates would count me as reliable. So I started in 5th, 6th grade, and by the time I was in 9th grade, I was one of the better ones in my community. In my viewpoint, the coaches wouldn't say so. I had a coach that put me in with 0.7 seconds and told me we need a point guard to bring the ball up.
Wow.
One of them. So I say that just to say, I've been at many phases in my basketball career, but I still went in knowing that as soon as I touched that ball, that clock was going to go off.
Right.
I try not to give that experience too much on the coaching side, but then I kind of grew within the skill, and we had some solid state runs. Been in 3 county championships in New York Adams, and we represented our school in a couple state runs as well. So yeah, basketball has been a passion of mine that I've been chasing after, and I'm still chasing after it.
I can tell you are. I just watched an interview with Chris Paul the other night, and for those at home that don't know who Chris Paul is, I'll just capsulize it. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a future Hall of Famer. I don't know if he's in already, but one of the better guards in the history of basketball. He never saw a second of varsity play in high school until his junior year.
Oh, yeah.
So, did you see that?
Yeah. I was
hard to believe.
And he said also that instead of sitting in on varsity for the notoriety, he wanted to practice his skills.
He wanted to play. He wanted to play basketball.
I first off have to say thank you to Langleystown Gazette Sports for giving me the first introduction to the community. And you introduced another guy that I think is going to be a Hall of Famer, and Coach Heaton. I was lucky to be right across the hall from Coach Heaton in a year that I taught at Susquehanna Township, and talk about helping out youth in the networks he has.
Yeah.
Man, I'm going to tune into that show. But shout out to Coach because he's an amazing guy and an amazing coach. I'm glad they're having a success there too.
There's no words that could describe his value to the community is really what it comes down to. So when did you realize that basketball could or would be more than just a pastime for you, Coach? That it would assist you in your receiving an education after high school and open other doors for you, like the one that we're here to discuss tonight?
So in that story, that I share with my upbringing and my development, I'll just skip past that freshman year and go into a sophomore year where I was pretty prominent in a JV capacity. Like Chris Paul, as my junior year, I thought that I was good enough for varsity. I like to say I was demoted down to JV at the beginning of the season. My dad shared with me, he said, you're going to use this time to polish your skills. It really never gave me an area to make excuses where excuses don't explain, the explanations don't excuse. Mm-hmm. They were solid on that. But I still had my belief that by the middle of the season, even though I was down on JV, that I was going to be starting varsity in some weird faith world. And we could say magic, we could say the powers that be, but one of my teammates lost his tooth. I've been dominating on JV and sitting varsity. I was next up, and in my 11th grade year, that confession came to fruition. I ran off 8 straight points on one of the top power forwards in York County at that time. Not going to name his name, but I appreciate you. And
he gave you an opportunity, right?
Yeah, and the papers blew it up. And then now my goal was, okay, he's not going to get his starting spot back. So around that time, my junior year, I always stood on faith principles and put in work towards it. But at that point is when I realized that, I could choose in between football, which I was coming off of a 70 tackle and 30 reception season as a junior, or basketball. And I love both. And I said to myself at the end of my junior year, whichever sport goes better as a senior is probably which one I will head into. I would have loved to be able to have the option to play both at a university. But football didn't go as well. New coaches, they were very successful. Our program was successful. But, being a good teammate, I was asked to, go inside the box at a rush in. So my tackles dropped. I led the county in sacks. But, it just wasn't very attractive. 16 sacks, not too many other stats in my receptions.
Right.
I don't think I would have played on the defensive side in college. I wouldn't like to. I would have rather played receiver, tight end. But I knew basketball was it from there. I could control that situation. And we just came off of a semifinal, state championship run. I was injured in that game. Actually in practice before, and my teammates missed me. We lost by 4 points to Parkland, and I knew that I was playing basketball going into that senior year after that football season. Right. So it turned into a huge ministry of mine to be able to help out, thousands of youth and, even some proven pros that came from Central PA to go ahead and get, some abroad contracts and things of that nature.
Nice. So a little birdie told me that you were pretty good in college. That's kind of one of the things that was flying around there when your name was thrown out there. Like that guy played really well in college. Where did you play in college, Coach?
So University of South Carolina, Aiken was the college that I went to. And thank you to that little birdie.
Yeah, man, that's what they were telling us.
I worked hard. When I didn't have I was playing with some of the most phenomenal players in the world in the Peach Belt Conference. We had a lot of guys transferring in, from D1 colleges, and Josh Dollar came from Auburn. A guy by the name of Jeremy Fears. If you don't know that name, you'll know his son Jeremiah, who was just drafted to the Pelicans, and Jeremy Jr., who's at Michigan State right now. We turned that program into a basketball warehouse for, proven pros. And before that, it was a laughingstock. They came off of 6-win seasons and 9-win seasons. But my freshman year, I was the only one to play in all 31 games. And I started 24, but it wasn't because I was good. It was because of that work ethic that I had.
Right.
I had a skill set at the center position, so I was a freshman center for that squad. But over the course of my career at South Carolina, at 6'4", I went out third in rebounds all time and first in games played. I was a stat filler, so I appreciated that opportunity. I played for Coach Vince Alexander, and he brought me down there.
So let me ask you this. I'm always going to kind of go back or lead with the academic part. I call the kids that I cover student athletes,
Yeah.
and one of the first things I asked you tonight was how important was were academics in your household. What was your major in college?
I majored in sociology and I minored in psychology. I took a very untraditional route to education, kind of deciding if I was going to teach. But you're right; they are student athletes up
Hmm.
into the level where they can make a professional dollar off of the sports. Education is the key that kind of unlocks their potential. And also, from a high school or even in the middle school and elementary level, it's the education organizations that gives you your form of next reference to whichever organization you want to. So education is very important. I stress education. One of the things that we do in our program is monitor the grades very closely to make sure that we're really consistent from every point of the roster, but even more so that, people are practicing those simple disciplines that lead in success. And education, I really do believe, unlocks some doors that won't be open to you unless you go through them. So I like that. And I call them student athletes as
Yeah.
well.
Every time it's just that's what comes out of my mouth when I'm talking about they say, what do you do? I say I cover student athletes.
Yeah.
That's what I do for a living. So we have a friend of mine that we take live questions and comments here, and I think you'll end up meeting this guy. He's a big Central Dauphin boys basketball supporter. Kirby Lentz says he wants to know, did you play college basketball with Casey McMasters from Central Dauphin?
I did. They did a really, really big article on us too because Casey was a heck of a player. And anyone that knows Casey McMasters know that he was a sniper. And so we played together. He came down and we actually played all 4 years together because I was a redshirt freshman. He was a true freshman. And he was another person that was a pillar in that program. As soon as I got the job and it was announced, the first thing I was doing was texting Casey. And he laughed and said he never thought he would have heard me say "Go Rams," but I was so elated, like you said, it was like Christmas. I was
Coaching in
trying to
his old
convince him
crib,
to,
huh?
yeah, I was trying to convince him to come over and let's spend some time together. But he's coaching right now, and
Oh, is he?
yeah, he's coaching over at Susquehanna Township, and yeah, I attempted to get him to rescind in good faith, I would say, but he was solid. He made a commitment, and yeah, I did play with Casey.
Good, good. So you'll have a chance to meet Kirby here sometime soon. So I guess we're at the point now. Let's talk about your decision to get into coaching. How did that happen? Because a lot of great athletes never end up coaching,
Yeah.
and a lot of athletes that were never all that accomplished do end up coaching. So you were an accomplished athlete that did get into coaching. How did that work out?
So I come from a coach's household. My dad was a football coach. He actually was a standout football player at Millersville. He led the conference in sacks as a freshman. Went to go ahead and try out for the Cowboys after his tenure at Millersville was over. And he's one of the best coaches that I've ever had. Just no nonsense, builds kids up, holds them accountable, never beats them down. And so it was very easy to see how you can impact lives from that standpoint. But another coach that was very influential in my life, Isaiah Anderson, he coached me at William Penn, for my high school career. But I went through all of his summer camps when I was younger. And he was someone that he's seen where I was at as far as skill set, but he envisioned where I could be, and he invested into me for a good 8 summers before that harvest kind of produced that crop.
Right.
And I've seen how coaches can really change the trajectory of student athletes' lives just by that seed of belief and implanting some good seeds.
Yeah, it takes a while. You can't flip a switch and become a good coach.
Yeah,
You just can't flip a switch. You have to do it for a while, first of all,
yeah.
and you have to do it around people that are good coaches.
I fell in love with the process of seeing someone get to the next level, similar to myself, when didn't seem like it was possible. So those coaches were key, as well as some others, that might not have been that same experience, but I think that it was really purposeful for me to be a coach, not just with that. My family's all in either education or social work, so with that background, it just was very easy for me to get
Okay.
into coaching.
I made this up, I don't know how long ago. It's called Three Coaches. Okay. The number three coaches. I'm going to ask you for three different coaches. Okay. That fit into these questions. First of all, the coach that you've learned the most from about coaching basketball.
I'm going to have to say Vince Alexander.
Okay.
Vince Alexander under South Carolina. So much information and levels of play and different concepts. I use some of them and I tweak some of them, and I master some of them. So he's down in the Peach Belt Conference still. I would give it to him.
That's a perfect answer, and that's the reason why I asked this question. How about number two, the coach that you admire or look up to the most, or maybe pattern your coaching approach or style after?
That's my dad, Marshall Leonard. I've always wanted to emulate and imitate. He's a man's man, leader of leaders, a guy that kind of walks in integrity. And although that he challenges all of his players, the players love him and all of his students. And I kind of have the same effect with my students. I was just down in Harrisburg the other day, and I was at the potato coop store, and one of my students from down there remember my name, so I like to have that same effect that he has. And I think that I modeled my coaching style after him. He has a bellow with him, but he's very soft demeanor and it challenges his players in every way.
And you said that I'm going to quote what you told me about 5 minutes ago. He never beats them down.
Oh my!
It's hard to me, and I'm sure some people have gone against this, but it's hard for me to see people getting a lot out of kids or adults, out of human beings, when you're beating them down at the same time. And you said that about your father a few minutes ago, and I was kind of sat here and nodded like I understand that, and I respect that.
And language is key. You get to affect people through questions and the way that you articulate yourself. My first year of coaching, I almost brought him on. He did coach basketball for a season or so. The coach, Isaiah Anderson, which will be next in line to any of those coaches, or maybe first in some places. He'll be my third for whatever the next question is.
Okay, well then let's see. No, I don't know if this is going to fit Isaiah Anderson.
He was just as crazy too. So I think that whatever way we go,
this is a total shifting of gears, Coach Leonard.
Let's go for it then. Well, I might have to rescind.
This is toughest coach to coach against.
Oh,
who's given you fits over the years? Is there anybody that you've gone up against? Hey, and sometimes the answer could be somebody that you actually have beaten, have gotten the best of, but it's just so hard. You're going to be sweating that night. You're going to have to do a lot of moves that night. That nothing's just going to fall into your lap.
So there were I coached against some good coaches. I coached against Mike Grasso, who I assisted under.
Dallastown, right?
We had Dallastown. He's a good friend. That was a fun game. It's going to have to go to Stifler down in Kennerdale. I coached at Susquehannock, my first head coaching job, and that Susquehannock Kennerdale rivalry is unpredictable on the results that you're going to get from the players just because of the emotions. But despite whatever we're going to get from our players, he always had his kids ready to compete. And whether we were up 20, they came back and won a game. And the games that we won were very tough, no matter if we had the advantage. So I always like to say that it was him. And we did split as well. There were some coaches that had the best of me. Garrett Bull, another guy that I played with. In 2003, we beat them in the championship. I have not beat him in coaching. Coach Flowers, who came from York. I mean, there's a ton of great coaches. But I'm gonna have to put my coaching hat off to Coach Stifler. Shout out to you and Kennedale program. He does a great job down there.
They make you get a good night's sleep, get up and eat your Wheaties, and you know what I mean. Like all day long, it's gonna go down when you coach against somebody like that. So talk about if there is a difference. I'm not trying to just create something here, but is there a difference between York County basketball as far as you're concerned or your understanding versus Mid-Penn basketball? Any similarities, any differences?
Well, I would say the notoriety for sure. You talk about the Mid-Penn, you talk about, hundreds of athletes that have landed to go ahead and play, post grad at the high school level at collegiate sports in the last 7 years. You can tell a lot of the difference, and the style of play. I think that it's some are mirror and some are match. And York County, though, they have some of the better players in Central PA as well.
It's a good time for York County basketball on the boys and girls side, Coach. I think.
Yeah. I think that it's really, really growing. Obviously, some of the success that they had in the mid-pen, we would love to have on York County. It's just, a tough game every night. There are still some games in York County that aren't as tough, but I like to think that they can mirror and match in a lot of areas. But the mid-pen, when you talk about the mid-pen, that's where you want to be at as far as coaching, and just building. And we have a beautiful place to build with Central Dauphin. And you talked about, you interviewed Coach Fletcher when he first came on, and I appreciate you having me. He did a really, really great job when I reached out to him, just with the foundation that he left and the success that he has. But to answer your question, there's some similarities, but I would think that the mid-pen has an edge right now as far as the competitiveness and the style of play, and also the teams that are being represented in the district championships. A lot of them are coming out of the mid-pen. Despite Central, they had a heck of a run the last 10 years, probably one of the best runs you'll see.
Absolutely.
In basketball in the state. So, they shift that. So it's kind of a disproportionate representation, but there's good basketball all around. And you can attest to that from both leagues.
Yeah, you're stepping into one of the kind of hotbeds in the entire state with the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division.
I think it's the best basketball job. Yeah. I think it was the best basketball job that was in the state, verbatim.
That's not hard to argue against, Coach.
Yeah. And so I'm extremely blessed, extremely fortunate. I also want to just give a huge shout out to the administration and the community and the supporters, but also, they're getting a guy that's going to really give his all into this program. And also, some of the things that they're looking to accomplish are exactly the things that I've been speaking since I was a youth. And I think that a lot of the hard work, they'll get some of the sweat equity blessings of the things that I wasn't able to reach. I think that it's going to happen within the Central Dauphin School District and in the basketball program. So, yeah, it's an exciting time for the community. They don't know it yet, but it's going to be really fun.
It really is. Okay, how about I don't want you to give away too many secrets here, but do you have like a traditional offense that you like to run? Because they're going to figure that out.
Yeah, they'll scout it, but I'm a concept guy. I'm really more into concepts. I have maybe four multiple offenses, 4 offenses or so that my players will be expected to know, kind of like it's the back of their
flexible, depending on who you're going up against.
Yeah. So some variations of swing, some variations that are quick hitters. Nothing new under the sun. So right. I'm sure they have seen it, but in the grand scheme of basketball, I run more concepts.
How about defense?
Defense is I'm a defensive philosopher. So, it's more about the passion and the intensity, as a coach Dave Graybill would say. But we like to put our team in a position where they're going to be successful. They're going to have their teammate doing the right assignment that's to their left or to their right. So our team defense is the philosophy, and it's high energetic. We fly around, and we do what we're supposed to do from the principal side as well.
I'd like to take credit for this, but it's Dan Patrick. I heard him one time. He said that he told a coach. Dan Patrick played basketball up until division, maybe D3 or D2 in college. Dan from ESPN.
Okay.
Dan Patrick.
Yeah.
Wherever he is now. He said that he once told a coach, I can make any player on your team a better defensive player. And the coach says, come on, man, how are you going to do that? He said, get them to play harder.
What?
And if you think about it, a lot of defense, excelling at defense and being a great defensive player is how hard you go. Get them to play harder.
I agree. And honestly, that piece of the puzzle is a tough piece to put into the place, to get the players to play that way. And you can say, if you do it every day, but the variables change. But the one thing that has been consistent is, my level of holding team, staff, accountable, even myself, to the standard with our goals reach. And, with the goals that we have here at Central Dauphin within the boys basketball program, we're going to have to play harder than every opponent on every night. And that's in the little things. So, I'm looking forward to showing that part of our game, because defense is without said for me that that wins championships.
If they can't score, they can't win.
Yeah, if we go we score 1 point and they score 0, we won.
So how about this team you inherited? The cupboard was not left bare. I mean, Wayne Fletcher II was a 2-time All-State player, phenomenal player, great leader on the team, and I can't say enough about him. And he's gone. But there's a lot of players left. What do you know about it? Have you reached out to your guys? Have you guys gotten in the same room and kind of got to know each other?
We have done a meet and greet, and you can tell that this group is engaged. Their eye gates were very much open and receptive to what my initial message was going to be. They were very much inquisitive and kind of inquire who I was, but we have some very talented players, and I don't want to name names.
No, I'm not asking you to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but I'm really excited. We have the potential to have one of the best, starting fives in the state.
I think so.
We have a great potential to have some really, really good depth with senior leadership, through maybe the next 3 spots. Now, this is where it gets interesting. How deep can we go? How can we get our roster to be just as competitive in those, 9 through 12 spots? And that's what type of coach I am. We want to develop full program, but man, I'm excited about all of the players that are in the program, but there are my eyes are on a few, similar to some of the players I passed. I see some similarities to me and a few players with my collegiate career, and I'm going to try to get them to their next level of success. I want my ceiling to be their footboard, and at the end of my tenure here, I want Central Dauphin boys basketball program to be talked about for decades. And
you got kids on that team, young men on that team that the community has embraced. That
if you would like to name them, by all means, but I'm telling you, it's a very talented roster.
We'll let it go. We'll let it go at team, for now. But I'm telling you, the fans show up and they fill that gym up, and it is loud and hot in there, and it's it's exactly how you as a coach and them and they as players would want it to be. And there was a time at Central Dauphin that you just would have kind of shrugged off boys basketball altogether. And it just isn't that way at all. We have a couple more questions here. Actually, Steve Bardo, a friend of mine, he's involved in Central Dauphin sports. He said, good luck, Coach Leonard. And Kirby Lentz is back in again here. Has Coach picked his staff yet? And if so, who are they?
We are in the process of announcing that within the next week. Today we just had some interviews, but it does consist of some guys that have played abroad, some guys that have been coaching for a long time at the high school ranks. Actually, multiple players that have played abroad are guys that we interviewed, and I like to call them. We had a coaching review, just a line of questions, and some guys that were in the program were pretty excited about collaborating with the community.
The cupboard's not bare as far as the coaches that were left behind too.
No,
there are some very, and I don't know, that's not my business, and I'm not asking you to address
very talented coaches. I'll say it. I say
coaches it that the players respond to, that they love to play for, and all that. So I think you have an opportunity to really build a nice staff there, Coach Leonard.
Yeah, and it's a transition. It's a great, where there's transitions, there's room for growth, there's room for reevaluating. The one thing that I did say with all the coaches, which I think every all the coaches within the varsity and the junior high programs, most of them had a conversation with me, and I just let them know I appreciate your service. And, we want to have a conversation to see what's best for not just the program, but their career goals as well. And we're looking forward to announcing that here very soon. But it's a great staff. Some that are familiar with my system, some that are open into learning, what's going on. But yeah, it's going to be, proven pros, proven coaches that's been doing it for years.
Okay, Kirby, I tried. He's not quite ready to release that, Kirby, and that's understandable. You just kind of landed like a week or so ago. So
tell Mr. Kirby, I'll definitely hit him up as soon as I tell them.
Okay, yeah, we'll get together and have a cup of coffee or something, the three of us sometime.
Sounds awesome.
So let's kind of wind things down here and talk about, what do you do to pay your bills? What do you do professionally, Coach?
It's funny. I would say teaching is a second career, and that sounds crazy, but I started a company when I was maybe 27 or so. Kingdom of Bound. We cultivate leadership using success principles. We work with student athletes in education and community centers, from skills and drills to after school programs. That's more of a charitable service. So most people in the basketball industry know me from York Mighty Ants, which was a semi-pro basketball team that I started in that same year. And it's now grown into an international company where we played in one of the highest leagues in state, right under the NBA G League, in a league called the TBL. And, so you got the top 4% of that league going to play abroad. But I teach, to answer that question. I build my business still with, mentoring youth. My family, as I share, we're all into education and social. I own some shares to daycare and some properties here on the side of York. But we're just always trying to find ways to serve the community. But basketball is my business as far as, my mission and ministry. And I'm really, really good at that. And I think that the community is going to really benefit from what I bring as an individual. But I teach on the other side of the bridge at William Penn, the school where I graduated from. And
what do you teach?
Special education.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a learning support teacher. That looks different from year to year.
I respect that.
Great math assignments, emotional support assignments, but the possibilities of new employment opportunities are always vast, and I'm really looking forward to just digging into the community and having a presence there.
What I do know about your athletic director, and I don't want to speak for him, but he's one of the best out there. He's a phenomenal athletic director. Is that he does like to have his coaches in the building.
I think that's very wise.
I think it's great for everybody to have to have a coach in the building. It's great for the coach, great for the players. It's just a good way of going about things. And so anyway, and that's for another day. But I hope, if you want to get into that building and teach at Central Dauphin, I hope that works out for you. I think it's wonderful if a kid needs some kind of support, or you got to sit them down and help them with, hey, you're kind of struggling with some grades and stuff. You can't do that when you're 45 minutes away, or it's a lot more difficult. It's not a text thing. It's hey man, come sit down with me a little bit. How can I help you get these grades up? And I know that without being in the building, it's hard to do that stuff.
Yeah, it puts some deficits, and I've done it before, but I completely agree with AD Hunter, and he's just been standing up, very impressive.
You got a good one there, believe me. He's a great athletic director. He dots all the I's and crosses all the T's.
No, I agree. To be in building is a great benefit, and like I said, opportunities are vast, and I'm looking forward to being into community. And if that should come about, that would be great for not just the basketball program, but I'm a really good teacher as well.
Good. Well, let me just end with this. I promise you, we're not going to desert you. If we'll be around to cover some Central Dauphin boys basketball. Nice. Bring you back on the show. Last year we had 3 or 4 of the players on our show. We interview student athletes too, and that's a lot of fun. Do you want to shout anybody out? Any friends or family, any loved ones you want to say hello to?
Well, most people shout out their mom. I'm going to say it.
That's a good
one.
I
made it. Mama, I made it. My mom, Darlene Leonard, I will shout her out. I was being a little condescending, but when I was coming up, if I ever got in trouble, she was the softness to making sure that I got on the basketball team. Or like one day, I think in between the transition of basketball and football, I would always get in something. And my dad's like, oh, you're not going out this year. And I would have to make the team off of one day of trying out. which means I had to run extra laps. And
Right.
I'll shout out her. But no, anyone that has been a part of my journey, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent, I'm really grateful for walking into this position. I want to show my gratitude through the efforts that I put into the program, and I'm really grateful for the community as well. So again, it's taking a second out of y'all nights to get to know me a little bit.
Yep.
And looking forward to more encounters, and hey, let's go Rams!
Thank you for the opportunity, Coach. Best wishes leading young men and winning basketball games. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, Joe.
So let's jump back in here. If we can keep you just for another couple seconds and thank these sponsors once again: Capital Region Insurance Agency, Payer Apparel, Team PA AAU Basketball, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, American Legion Post 272, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, Hoffman Ford, Tonino's Pizza, Sam Hartley Decking. Thanks to those great local businesses for their continued support. Once again, we have Coach Joe Heaton coming up this Sunday with our regular panel of experts. We got the voice of Delco, Dave Berman. We have Travis Waters, Terry Clark Jr., and Eric Thomas. A great, great panel. These guys, I call them my panel of experts because they are a panel and they are experts. That's for sure. Let me throw that up. Okay, now you can see Travis in the upper right-hand corner. And then these are our following three. No, that's not them. Those are our following three coaches after this week. We have Coach Andrew Irby from Steel High, 3-time state champion coach. Then we have Brett Myers from Twin Valley and Dave Heckert from Mechanicsburg. So we got some really, really top-notch coaches. So that's going to about do it. Sorry to drag you through the closing information there, Coach.
I'm happy to be here.
Coach Seth Leonard, first-year Central Dauphin head coach. Thank you and best wishes. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.